1928, Paul wrote in England to appear in the overseas version of the new musical Showboat, written by Jerome Kern, lyrics by Oscar Hammerstein. Actress Marie Burke played the role of Julie.
We'd been rehearsing for about a week, and Paul was late because he'd been playing in New York. We just finished, and there was a break when the door opened, and standing in the doorway was a tall, distinguished gentleman, and we all knew that it was Paul Robeson. Jerome Kern, who was 5'2", 3", perhaps, rushed from the piano stool, nearly sent it flying, and put his arms around Paul's middle, because that's about as far as he could get. Said, "My God, Paul, it's marvelous to see you. Now come on over here. I want to hear my song." Old Man River sung by you, because I had you in mind when I wrote it. And Paul just walked up and put his arm on top of the piano. And this beautiful voice, this organ of a voice, came out, and he sang Old Man River, and we were all in tears.
That old man River, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling. He keeps on rolling along. He don't plant potatoes, he don't plant cotton. Them that plants them, he soon put a garden. But old man River, he just keeps rolling along.
It was the song with which Paul Robeson would be most closely tied during his career. He would sing it again in the 1935 film version of the play. Over the years, he gradually changed the Oscar Hammerstein lyrics from what originally included several repetitions of the word nigger. Years later, Robeson would transform Old Man River from a song of black indolence to one of resistance and defiance to oppression.
You show a little grit and you land in the jail. But I keep laughing instead of crying. I must keep fighting until I'm dying. And old man River, he'll just keep rolling along.
Robeson was the toast of England. He was accorded unprecedented acclaim for a black man. He was revered by the theatrical lions because of his impressive 1930 portrayal of Othello in London. His prodigious intellect attracted the scholarly. His voice, lent to singing folk music, endeared him to the working class. His awesome physical presence attracted artists from all over the world who sought to immortalize him in his prime.
When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down.
Through it all, he continued to pore over books on music, anthropology, and especially languages. The Robeson legend was growing, and so was his concert itinerary. He visited and performed on 3 continents, traveled extensively with his wife and their son, Paul Jr. Eslander, an anthropologist, had scholarly interests that meshed perfectly with her husband's. They were both about the mutuality of mankind. Robeson was especially impressed with Russia for a number of reasons. He found no color bar there in these times, the 30s. He was taken with the political system of the Soviet Union. He also found strong similarities between the Russian and African cultures and languages.
Хорошие ребята, жизнь по-своему переделают. Людьми станут настоящими людьми.
His comments were picked up by the world press, but nary an eyebrow was raised, not even here in America. Robeson's film career was also mushrooming. He was the first black man to make motion pictures that had a semblance of dignity and character. He was far from satisfied, but nonetheless roles such as the lead in Emperor Jones were extraordinary.
Mr. President. No. King Brutus. No, somehow that don't make enough noise. Smithers, cigarette. Smithers, you has just had an audience with the Emperor Jones.
The scholar, actor, singer in Paul Robeson all function now in perfect synchronization toward a single goal, to show the world that the black man had a unique and potent culture that rivaled that of any other culture in the world. And who could argue with this man? There he was, as living proof, black, beautiful, and brilliant. In 1935, Robeson made another film, Sanders of the River. Again, an African theme. But the editing turned out a final product in a story far removed from what he thought it would be. It turned out validating the colonization of Africa. Robeson was furious with the end result, and he walked out on the premiere performance. And so in his next film, he had a clause written into his contract that gave him final approval. He was much happier with the result of the second film, a film story about the descendant of an African king who was in Europe but determined to find his way back to his roots.
Yes?
The gentleman asked us to call.
Which gentleman? Appointment?
Yes, sir.
This way.
Don't call him sir.
No? Who shall I call him?
Call him nothing.
These people want to see Mr. Donizetti.
Name, please?
Mr. John Zinger.
And Mrs. Zinger.
Page. Take a seat.
Mr. and Mrs. John Zinger.
Ah, my friends, at last. I thought you were never coming. Look after the lady. I'm delighted to see you. I cannot tell you what a joy it is to me. We'll waste no time. To work at once. Now, come on. A note, Blaney. Come along, come along, come along, come along. No, stop. The breathing is all wrong. You see, the muscles for the breathing, they come from the diaphragm. So, and the voice, it comes from here. So, you see, voice, breathing. Breathing voice. Now, again, another note. Me. No. Chin up. So. Now, again. Me. And now, we will try escape.
You want me to do that?
Yes. See. Good. Now I feel higher.
Well, I came here to sing, not to make these noises.
But my dear fellow, Mr. Donizetti only wants to help you. It's part of your training.
I don't want any training. You smack me in the stomach and I sing la la la. Poets may be able to sing on the docks without being smacked in the stomach. And what's more, I can't sing with all this stuff on. I like to be comfortable. I'm not a tailor's dummy.
John.
Well, if they want me to sing, I gotta be free, not trussed up like a chicken.
The mantle of fame had an unusual effect on Paul Robeson. He gravitated more and more to the working class of people. His songs were of them and for them. By 1937, he was booking most of his concerts with ticket prices that the poor could afford. As Robeson developed as an artist, so did he develop as a humanist. He resolved to lend himself to the cause of oppressed people wherever they were, whatever color they were. In the late 30s, as fascism started its bloody sweep across Europe, Robeson supported the loyalist forces in Spain, who were fighting almost single-handed against fascist German tyranny. He did so by going to Spain, out among the loyalist fighting men, and by giving concerts.
They wanted to take you, but you're courageous children, but you're courageous children, but you're...
This kind of artistic militancy won Robeson friendships with people like Nehru of India, and a young Kenyan who would later become a feared and respected leader of his people, Jomo Kenyatta. Back in America, the tensions were building as World War II was about to erupt. It was Paul Robeson who found a song that seemed to provide the unifying force that America needed at the time. It was called Ballad for Americans.
In 76, the sky was red, thunder rumbling overhead, that King George couldn't sleep in his bed, and on that stormy morn, old Uncle Sam was born.
Will you please tell us who you are?
What's your name, buddy? Where are you going? Who are you?
Are you an American?
Am I an American? I'm just an Irish, Negro, Jewish, Italian, French, and English, Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Polish, Scots, Hungarian, Litvak, Swedish, Finnish, Canadian, Greek, and Turk, and Czech, and double-Czech American.
With the outbreak of World War II, Robeson threw his full energies into the war effort. He gave endless free concerts to raise American war bonds. He toured for the USO. He loudly stated and deeply believed that if blacks helped to defeat fascism, America would end racism and give the black man his due.
Still unsung, from the plains and mountains we have sprung to keep the faith with those who went before. Old Sam put on a three-cornered hat.
Robeson was roundly applauded in America for his patriotism. His continued public expressions of admiration for the Soviets raised no hackles whatsoever, because Russia was an ally during these war years.
He was perhaps unusual at that time in being, as he has so many times been ahead of his time. He had been by then what we used to call a premature anti-fascist. That is, he became aware of fascism and its dangers in the early 30s and resolved to fight against it every way he could, and went to Spain and so on. But in the 40s, when everyone agreed that the Axis had to be defeated, he also said that in fighting against fascism and their kind of racism, we had to at the same time fight against black oppression here and against racism in the United States. And as a matter of fact, I recall his calling the racists and the Ku Klux Klan and so on in the U.S. as the cousins, if not the brothers, of Hitler's Nazis. And that was unusual then. It's sort of, he was an early civil rights fighter in that sense, since he was at the same time as the war bond rallies were going on, and he was one of the champion fundraisers for those kinds of things. He was vocally and publicly very critical of racism in the United States, and that it was absolutely necessary to eradicate it.
As a former athlete, he was angry that at this late date there were no blacks playing Major League Baseball. And so he led a delegation before the Major League club owners demanding that the color bar be broken. It wouldn't be very long afterward that this young man would benefit from the militant action of Paul Robeson. Robeson's star continued to rise. He was a sellout concert attraction. He received endless awards from labor groups, many ethnic organizations, Greek, Jewish, and the like, and several honorary degrees from colleges like Morehouse in Atlanta and Howard University in Washington, D.C. Even his own alma mater, Rutgers University. And then came the coup de grace. In 1943, he opened on Broadway in Othello, the first time a black man would play Shakespeare's Moor on Broadway. He would play the role a total of 3 times over a 30-year span, but it was the Margaret Webster production in 1943 that would go down as the definitive portrayal of the role for all time.
I had seen Robeson play Othello in London quite a few years earlier, and I frankly hadn't thought that he was very good. But he said to me then that he himself didn't think he was very good, and that now he had studied and restudied the role, and he felt that he was ready to play it, and why couldn't we do it together? And I was enthusiastic about this idea, particularly if I could have got Maurice Evans to play Iago. I couldn't persuade Maurice to do it, nor could Paul or I, between us, persuade any other New York management to take the risk of doing a play in which a black man, A, made love to, and B, murdered a white woman. We finally got management, and it wasn't then an altogether easy job to get actors to do it, especially Desmona. We got Joe Ferrer and Uta Hagen. Now, Joe Ferrer had never played Shakespeare in his life. Uta gave from the beginning a beautiful performance of Desmona, and Paul brought qualities with him which I never have seen equaled before or since. The moment he stepped onto that stage, he was not only a black man, but he was a great black man, a man of stature. Somehow or other he put the play in focus. The opening night in New York is something I never will forget. It was the late summer of 43, wasn't it? Ran through the 43-44 season. And it was one of those nights that absolutely everything went right, and the whole theater sort of caught fire.
It is the cause. It is the cause, my soul. Let me not name it to you, you chaste stars. It is the cause. Yet I'll not shed her blood, nor scar that whiter skin of hers than snow, and smooth as monumental alabaster. Yet she must die, else she'll betray more men. Put out the light, and then put out the light. One more, and this the last. So sweet was an air so fatal. I must weep, but they are cruel tears. This sorrow's heavenly. It strikes where it doth love.
It was a breathtaking performance that won him the coveted Diction Award. Robeson had poured endless hours into preparing for the role. He even went so far in quest of special nuances as to rehearse certain passages in several languages.
More than pertains to iets broil in battle, als was zum Streit geheert und werd der Schlacht. Ein wenig lehren dich von dem Lauf der Welt, als was zum Streit geheert und werd der Schlacht. Therefore little shall I grace my cause in speaking for myself. Drum wenig schmuck, wo leicht meine Sache, red ich für mich. Et je sais dire pas de choses de ce vaste monde, qui n'y rapporte au fait de guerre et de bataille.
I seem to remember reading when you came over in 1930 that you made a special study of English speech for playing Othello. Have you done the same this time?
Well, sort of once. let's go back to 1930, which was the very definite time. Of course, in America, as I say, I had just come over from America, and we like to say pass and chance and do for the morning dew. And I happened to pick up an old script of Shakespeare, and the dew was very clear. It was D-I-E-W, and it was not chance, C-H-A-U-N-C-E, so it was dew, like in lieu of, and chance and dance. It's very, very Shakespearean way. And one terrible, difficult sound was almost at the beginning of the play, my services, which I have done the scenery, my services. I would say my services. I had to work on that very But later I took some special work at the University of London, and also in my university days I majored in English, and I have records from the earliest time, from time of Anglo-Saxons, as a matter of fact, through Chaucer. And of course, since I worked on my songs with Roger Quilter, and I would have to use the role, I couldn't walk out here and say, drink to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with mine. It's got to be very, drink to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge.
I think Paul Robeson had a good beginning, in that he grew up in an environment where he was reminded of the fact that he had responsibility, and he was the first artist, activist, black or white, in this country, who saw that his role extended far beyond the stage, and that when the curtain fell, that wasn't the end of his act and the end of his commitment, and that the broader community needed some attention and needed some commitment from the artist.
I feel that this bears a good deal on the credibility of the jealousy. That Othello comes from a different culture. For example, suppose the English lad married, say, a girl from Malaya, and the Malayan Iago started on him. Well, he might not quite know what to do. This is very important, I feel, in the development.
The bewilderment is, in fact, a matter of him being a stranger in the society.
That's one of the things that would bear on the jealousy.
But you're not trying to push the jealousy out of the window, are you?
Obviously, you can't put it, but this is an extremely important point, too. As Othello says, that he kills not in hate, but in honor. And he says to Iago, you know, I didn't see it, I didn't think it, you know, I slept the next night well. I found not Cassio's kisses on her lips, and if I had not known it, there'd been quite some other thing. But, so it wasn't just the act of infidelity, it was the destruction of himself as a human being, of his human dignity. And may I add, in thinking of the part myself, that I related that dignity not to myself personally, say, in a modern society, but to my whole people, important in Othello's defense of what he calls his honor and his dignity. She wakes.
Who's there? Othello.
I, Desdemona.
Will you come to bed, my lord?
Have you prayed tonight, Desdemona?
Aye, my lord.
If you bethink yourself of any crime, unreconciled as yet to heaven and grace, solicit for it straight.
Alas, my lord, what may you mean by that?
Well, do it and be brief. I will walk by. I would not kill thy unprepared spirit. No, heaven forfend. I would not kill thy soul.
Talk you of killing?
Aye, I do.
I know you so your nether lip. Some bloody passion shakes your very frame. These are portents, and yet I hope they do not point on me.
Peace and be still.
I will so. What's the matter?
That handkerchief which I so loved and gave thee, thou gavest to Cassio.
By my life and soul. Send for the man and ask him.
Sweet soul, take heed of perjury. I saw the handkerchief.
Oh, but then I never gave it him. Send for him hither, let him confess the truth.
He hath confessed.
What, my lord?
That he hath used thee.
How? Unlawfully?
I
will not say so.
No, his mouth is stopped. Honest Iago hath ta'en order for it.
My dear interprets then. What, is he dead?
Had all his hairs been lives, my great revenge had stomach for them all.
Oh.
betrayed, and I am dumb.
Now, strumpet, weepst thou for him to my face?
Banish me, my lord, but kill me not.
Down, strumpet.
Kill me tomorrow, let me live tonight.
Nay, if you strive.
But half an hour.
Being done, there is no pause.
But what? I see one prayer.
It is too late.
Why, it was almost too much, all of this coming out of a single human being. The whole nation and Western free world seemed to stand up and applaud Paul Robeson. He was a symbol that countless parents urged their children to grow up and try to be like. He was, quote, a credit to his race, unquote, a true giant among men. At a mammoth birthday party celebrating his 44th birthday at the 17th Regiment Armory, a galaxy of celebrities turned out. Mary McLeod Bethune proclaimed Paul Robeson as the tallest tree in our forest. Robeson now stood at the mountaintop of popularity. The valley lay ahead.
We're soldiers.